Hello guys, Tech Enthusiastic here. We are trying to solve another LeetCode problem 56, merge interval. The problem definition is given a collection of intervals, merge all overlapping intervals. The input is something like 1, 3, 2, 6, 8, 10 and 15, 18. And we can see that easily that 1, 3 and 2, 6, there is an intersection. So those two intervals will be merged together as 1 and 6. And there is no overlap with the other two intervals, so they will be just added to the output list. And for the second example, if there is an intervals 1, 4 and 4 and 5, we can merge these two and get the output of 1, 5. So there are a few ways to solve this problem. One of the easiest way might be to check that if these overlap, these two intervals actually overlap. If they actually overlap, then actually we can merge those two to get the minimum of a first start point and also the maximum of end point and get the intervals. So how we can solve the problem? So at first we can do some checking. So our result will have an empty array at the beginning, and if our intervals is null or empty, we want to return empty array. Okay, so to solve this problem, at first we want to only consider how we can sort these intervals. At first we want to only consider based on the sorted intervals, but based on the start point. So how we can do that? We can do a arrays.sort, which will take intervals, and the comparator would be the start point of the interval. So we want to use data structure called priority queue. So in priority queue, we want to store each of the interval, and whenever we want to check, we can merge with the existing interval. So for example, we have 1 and 3 in our priority queue, and whenever we get 2 and 6, we want to check that is there any interval which has the latest end time, or actually latest interval. So that is 3. So and we will check that if the start point of these two is less than of this endpoint, then we will be able to merge these two intervals. So our priority queue will have intervals. Let's do the and the comparator would be so the comparator would be the end point, and we want to get the maximum end interval. At first level, we want to add these values to the intervals first item into the priority queue. Now what we are going to do, for each of the element in these intervals, this should be length, we'll get this current item, and now we want to find the latest final time, that means LF, which we can find from pq.peak. And now we want to check if this latest final time, end time, is greater than the current start time. If that is the case, we want to remove this item from the priority queue. We want to merge these two intervals, which will have two items, the start point math.min of the start point and math.max of the end point. So that would be LF0 start point, and then current 0 and max of the end point. And finally we want to add this merge interval into our priority queue. If this interval doesn't overlap with the existing interval in the priority queue, we want to add this current one. So finally, whenever we are end of this for loop, we will have all the merge interval into the priority queue. So now we can create our result 2D array. The result array will have the first dimension will be the priority queue size, and we want to just add all the values from the interval which are in priority queue. We have to add those things into our result. This will be interval 0, finally we want to return the results. So let's go through the code again. So at the beginning, what we are doing, actually we want to return an empty list if our intervals is null or there is no element in our intervals. At first we are sorting based on the start time of that interval. We are using another priority queue where the comparator is based on the end time, and we want to get the maximum end time. That one we want to pick. At first we add the first element into our priority queue. From second to onwards, for each of the interval, we want to pick an element from the priority queue, check that actually if does it overlap with these one. If it does overlap, we will merge these two interval, add it back to the priority queue. Otherwise we will just add it back to the priority queue. Finally, all the merge interval will be in our priority queue. We will return those results. Let's check if there is any compilation error. No, it seems like it's good to go. Yeah, it's accepted. So that's all for this solution. If you have any questions or comment, you can leave those comment in this video. Feel free to like and share the video, and you can subscribe to my channel to get latest update about the LeetCode solution. Thanks for watching.